Hi, I'm Beth Ramsden. This week I'm going to be making more removable wigs for Blythe. This is my custom Blythe doll, Akemi. She is bald and this is so she can change her hairstyle and hair colour anytime that we want. This is a second video because I've had a few requests to come back to this subject. So I thought I would come back and make some more styles and colours that I didn't do the first time. In the first video, I had made these 3 wigs. I'll leave a link in the description and I'll link it here for those that haven't seen it yet to watch me making these. I've made one that uses kind of needle felting technique, one here that used a netted wig cap and a knotting technique to attach the hair. And finally, this one with the short brown hair, it was made using a glued wig cap and hot glue to attach the hair. I found that time and time again, this is the cap that I reach for when I'm dressing up my doll. It's just the easiest one to put on and take off, and it's just so easy. So I will quickly go over making the wig cap that you'll build the hairstyle onto, but again you can go back and watch the other video if you haven't. So the things you'll need to make the wig cap and for the hairstyles that I'll be trying out in this video: first you'll need some plastic to protect your doll. You put this over the head and use some rubber bands to hold it in place loosely around the neck. You will need some muslin or thin fabric, maybe jersey. You can stretch over the head and use another rubber band around the head to hold it in place. Put the rubber band where you want the hairline to be. You will need Mod Podge or PVA glue and a brush that you can paint the glue onto the muslin or jersey. Paint it in layers, keep adding more and more once each layer has dried until it's quite sturdy. Here's a couple I've made already. She has one on her head as well. Once it's dry, I like to draw a hairline around the head with pen, take off the plastic, peel it away from the wig cap, and then trim with scissors around the line that you've made. You'll also need hair, of course. You can use store-bought extension hair, you can use special doll hair. There are lots of different types that you can use. I've got some human hair extension sort of hair. I have this purple hair from my first rerouting that I did, where I used way too much hair and she's got just masses and masses of hair. So I would quite like to try a different style using the same colour and try and do a better job this time. I also have from an old Halloween costume, I'd bought these hair extensions. They have clips on them, but the hair can be trimmed off, and I've actually already straightened this. It's important if you do want to style your wig afterwards to check first that the material you're using is heat proof or heat resistant for the straighteners or the methods that you're going to be using. And again, I would like to make I think a long hair, something similar to my natural colour, which isn't this, that is a longer style. Another method you can use that I would like to show is using acrylic yarn to make your hair wefts with. You can create loops. For this one, I just wanted a particular colorway, so I've cut these into shorter sections than you normally would, but you can essentially brush out the yarn. You can use straighteners and hot glue to hold the ends together, and you can create your own hair wefts. So here's an example I'm going to try out later as well. For this method, you will also need something to loop the yarn around for brushing it out. I've used this cross-stitch plastic, and you can use something like a pet brush or a comb simply to brush out the yarn. Finally, you will need to use some straighteners I find these little ones really useful. You could use full-size ones, of course, as well. And of course, a hot glue gun and glue for it. I also will be using a panel of glass as well to glue the wefts onto when you're creating them. But anyway, let's get started and see how we do. Okay, here is the long brown hair, straightened and cut to length, then glued at one end with Mod Podge. This takes a while to dry, but it seems to coat more of the hair and gives a tidier edge than these ones, where I got impatient and used hot glue instead. I thought I could use these hot glued wefts in the same way I had used the machine sewn wefts from the short brown hair wig, but I was so wrong. I also decided to jump straight into the hair parting for some reason. You'll see me glue one weft facing away from its intended direction, then glue another directly over the previous glued edge, before cleaning the tip of the glue gun and using the heat from it to bend and hold the parting when I flip it over. This one came out fine, but it soon goes wrong. I repeat those steps again, but in the opposite direction. They're butted up against the first side of the parting. I'm using small clips to hold each weft separately, so it's easy to grab and flip over the right one. The technique is fine, but the hot glue from making the wefts was too bulky, and I hadn't covered the hairline of the cap first, so I had lumps showing through the parting and the bare edge of the wig cap showing too. I just couldn't leave it like that, so I scrapped it and started over. I couldn't waste all the hair from before, so you'll see me snip it off in very small sections at a time from the first wig cap. I started at the back and working all the way around the hairline, I'm gluing the cut edge of the hair to the wig cap. I put a little glue directly on the hair first. I press it into place and then use the tip of the gun to smooth it and add a smidge more glue if needed. Moving around to the front, I'm crisscrossing the wefts, moving up with each layer to make a purposeful direction to the hair parting. These hair clips are handy to hold the hair in position while the glue cools. I'll continue adding rows of hair to fill in the back and sides of the cap. It's filling in nicely, and I'll add some more in before tackling the parting again. She's ready, but I don't know if I am. I've definitely given myself the fear about this. I'm taking it slow this time, making some more wefts, using the Mod Podge to get a neat edge once it's trimmed. I also make them fairly dense, so I shouldn't have any glue peeking through. Here I go again. The hair facing left will be folded over, and the hair on the right covers the glued edge. This time I use my Clover mini iron to press in the parting, and it worked perfectly. I repeat the same steps for the other half of the parting, and here it is. I'm so relieved. It's a lovely and neat parting. It just needs a trim and some styling now. There. I've used my mini straighteners to add a loose wavy curl to the bottom of her hair, and I left the length fairly long. I'm honestly really happy with this wig. It adds a colour and length option that I didn't have before. Moving on to the purple hair, I decide to sew them into wefts before gluing onto the wig cap, keeping it evenly spread and under the presser foot. I then fold one half over and sew again just to the left of my previous line. I try to pull them tightly over against themselves to avoid too much side-to-side direction in the weft. Finally, I run a zigzag stitch just wide enough to enclose both rows of the straight stitching. The stitching has perforated the paper, so it's really easy to tear away the excess and then gently peel the weft away from the paper. This method quickly gives really neat wefts that could also be sewn into an elastic rimmed fabric wig cap. You could also make a very long continuous weft by just adding more paper as needed while you sew. You can see I begin the same way as before. I'm using hot glue to fix the wefts to the cap, working my way upwards. I made shorter wefts from some shorter scraps that I had, which I used to fill in the front where I want a fringe to be. I glue a longer weft over the top of this, and then begin filling in the sides, leaving a strip bare for the parting to go. I've put a tube of stretch fabric over the head to keep that hair separate. Then I glue a doubled over weft facing away from the parting, before folding it over and pressing the parting with the mini iron. I repeat this for the other side, and here she is, ready for a haircut and style. She's looking so cute. I really had fun styling her hair. She reminds me of Hit Girl from the Kick-Ass comics. I'm going to show you one last weft making technique. I first saw this on Mozekito's channel. Definitely check her out. Using a piece of card to evenly wrap your acrylic yarn around, I'm trying out 2 different shades of red here. You then cut them at one side, leaving you lots of lengths of yarn. I twist them in the middle to poke them through the hole I made in this plastic mesh. You could easily loop them over a chopstick or something instead. Then I begin to brush them, starting at the bottom with the pet brush. This takes a little while and a lot of the fibres will come away entirely, so save this for stuffing toys with or needle felting with. Once they're all brushed out, use your straighteners to slowly flatten them out. Then you can snip them away from the loops and glue the tips down to make wefts. This method makes beautifully soft hair, although there is a limit to how long you can make them. So for Blythe, you might only get a short haircut, but for Barbie or Monster High, the smaller scale will give you longer hair. Well, that's all I have time for this week. I did want to make a yarn wig too, but I might have to come back to that again. I'm giving you a little tease here of some absolutely adorable corduroy pinafores that I've been sewing. They all have lined working pockets and the most wonderful little details. I am fully in love with them. I will be making a limited number of clothing sets to sell on my website. I'm considering matching them with shoes too. Tell me in the comments if this is something you would be interested in buying, and are there any more wig types that you would like to see me try out? Thanks so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and for all your lovely comments. Take care and I'll see you next time. Bye!